All right, everybody, welcome back to coverage here of the U.S. Regional Championship. Corey Ballmeister, Brian Brundoon, bringing you coverage here of the rest of the tournament. And we just saw our first person stamp their ticket into the semifinals. Well, we got to fill out the rest of the top 8. So let's take a look at the deck list here of the players we're going to be watching. This is our number 1 seed. This is London Glenn playing Boros Convoke. Our top 4 players, BBD, all aggressive decks. So maybe aggressive was the way to do it here at this U.S. Regional Championship. We just saw this deck, but give us a quick overview of London's deck, maybe some changes from the previous Boros Convoke list.
Aggressive is always the way to do it, Corey, not just this regional championships. But yeah, so yeah, this is a Boros Convoke deck that is similar to what we've seen before. You know, you're flooding the board with creatures, using a Knight Errant of Eos to refill your hand, and then you're trying to go over the top with Imidane's Recruiter and so forth. One interesting thing about London's deck is playing 1 copy of Regal Bunnicorn, which can be a giant creature. In this deck, it's equal to the number of non-land permanents you control. So it is sometimes a very powerful card in that it dodges a lot of these power and toughness based sweepers that a lot of decks play. Yep. Assuming that you have enough else that can stay alive with it. So a lot of times if you have those clue tokens and stuff, that can help with that. So an interesting card to see as a one-of here. It can be sometimes, it could be a 10-10 for 2 mana sometimes.
Well, I'll tell you one deck that doesn't really have that much trouble dealing with a bunny cord, and that's going to be Kyle Moran's list. Let's take a look. That is Azorius Control. It doesn't matter if it's a 10-10, a 5-5, 3-3. Kyle Moran's deck is all about destroying creatures. BBD, first time you and I have seen Azorius Control on the broadcast. Walk us through this deck a little bit.
Yes, Azorius Control is just a traditional control deck, really. I mean, it is in the truest sense of the form, where it's looking to play almost exclusively at instant speed on your opponent's turn. You know, there's other than Sunfall, there's nothing here that you are forced to play, and temporary lockdowns, nothing you're forced to play on your own turn. So this is really a callback to old school control, where it's sweepers and then all instant speed interaction. And in this particular matchup, the key cards are there's 2 temporary lockdowns in the main deck, another 2 in the sideboard. Those are going to be the most impactful cards against this Boros Convoke deck.
Okay, sounds great. Let's see how this match plays out. Let's jump on in. We're going to be jumping into game number 2. Kyle has already won game number 1. So game number 2 is going to have London on the play. And being on the play with this Convoke deck is going to be definitely advantage for this game. Graphic doesn't show the game being won by Kyle, but I assure you this is game number 2. And we started off with London playing a creature. Just a land drop from Kyle. Back to London to see what we have for turn number 2.
It looks like a Warden, probably another card here. Okay, yeah, Gleeful Demolition. So that's going to set up a nice board here and start being able to pump up this Warden.
Okay, so here comes Warden going up to at least 2 power. Now, how different is this matchup here from Boros Convoke to Azorius Control compared to something like, Gruul Ramp that we saw last round?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Boros against a lot of decks that have sweepers, but all the sweepers are different.
Yeah.
Like temporary lockdown cares about the converted mana cost, whereas something like Brotherhood's End cares about the size. So here it's less important to make your creatures big to dodge sweepers. I mean, it's nice to have them be big, in general, but that's not going to help you dodge sweepers.
Yeah, totally agree. Blue-White Control was definitely the deck that I was playing a lot in Standard. We even played a team event a couple weeks ago where I was playing this deck, and I had a very good record against Boros Convoke. I think this matchup can be relatively easy just because you have 4 temporary lockdowns. It ends up just being so gigantic. Plus, we actually see in the sideboard here from Kyle, there's 2 Dusk Animus as this kind of over-the-top creature. And we even saw one in hand from Kyle.
Absolutely. Yeah, and there was no temporary lockdown that was played last turn, which Doesn't necessarily signify that Kyle doesn't have one, but it probably is a good indicator.
Yeah, I don't see one. I see a 3 steps ahead, but only one blue source able to get the ability here. So everything's not being pumped, but I mean, I don't see a lockdown either. This looks really, really bad for Kyle.
Yeah, Kyle's gonna have to draw something here, or this Warden at least will end the game pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe there's it looks like there is a march to deal with specifically the Warden.
But then, you still have all these other creatures. You can kill one, but they multiply.
Yep, and the Warden got in there. It does have Vigilance, so that was not a missed attack. And I like the little thing. No abilities on that Recruiter. Not allowed. Doesn't really matter anymore, but still, no abilities.
That's a gray ogre. We accept those.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, reminder everyone, Vigilance when you get that many counters. So should have still been an attack that was not missed. And now it doesn't look like there's any of the big plays. I'm guessing that's just plotted. And we're going to see a march on the Warden. And maybe that's enough because next turn you play your 5th land. And this is doing its best kind of Baneslayer Angel impression where, Dusk Animus is an incredible magic card at catching you up.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a chance that we see something like that. Like blow up the Warden this turn. Hopefully, you're hoping that London doesn't have another Recruiter or War Leader's Call.
That's huge. I mean, you can
That is
deal with the
huge.
Warden here, but I don't see a counter spell from Kyle. So as
Kyle
it stands,
might have to pitch a card here to take out the War Leader's Call, but it is still going to just go for that.
yeah, I feel like you don't really have a plan for the Warden, even if the War Leader's Call is gone. Like Dusk Animus is chumping it, which is not great. Looks like, is this Kyle falling down to 2?
Looks that way, yeah. And now at 2 life, it's really dangerous because yes, you can sweep away the board, but with that War Leader's Call, 2 creatures kills you anyway.
Yeah, you die to a Resolute Enforcement, any kind of 2 creatures. Now this does help, but playing that, you kind of just automatically think, well, there's no sweeper. And there is a 3 steps ahead to copy it, which is interesting, but it doesn't work the way you think it was or the way you would want it to, as you would still have to tap mana to do so.
You would not get the extra bonus of it. You would have it just a generic 2/3 flyer.
Yeah.
There's also a Wandering Emperor, which can gain 2 life on a tapped creature, but that doesn't do anything if London just plays 2 creatures out here and doesn't tap anything first.
So it looks like we're going to go for a Forge here, which is assuredly going to get countered, plus maybe make a copy of your Dusk Animus.
And
you need 6 mana for that, not 5, so not possible to do that. Now it's just if you counter this and your opponent attacks with the team, can you live? And I don't think so.
I don't believe so. It looks like there's a Tidebinder in hand, which can shut it off from making a creature.
Yeah.
But you would still take 6 combat damage, and be able to gain 4 life, which is also 6. So it'd be exactly lethal anyway.
Yep. So all right, that is game number 2. Evening this up, and let's take a look at London sideboard here to start. What do you like in this matchup here, BBD?
Yeah, I mean, we saw the Urbrask's Forges there. Those can do a lot in these kinds of matchups. Tishana's Tidebinder does shut them down pretty effectively, but these kinds of interactions of answer versus threat oftentimes still favor the person playing the threat because they are forcing the other player to have the interaction at the right time, be in a position to play it at the right time, and so forth. So I think we're going to see those kinds of cards. The Invasion of Gobekon, another card that we'll probably see after sideboard as well.
Definitely. So let's take a look at our other list here from Kyle. And Azorius Control, it usually feels pretty forced what kind of cards you're bringing in, BBD, but what do you like in the sideboard here from Kyle?
Yeah, I mean the 2 major ones are the temporary lockdowns, where you're going to want to be able to play one of those as early as you can to slow Boros down. I mean, a lot of times maybe one temporary lockdown only gets a couple of things, but it just slows the deck down so much. It means that Knight Errant is harder to play. All these other cards do less when there's less in play. So those are the two main ones. And then there's a number of other cards that you can bring in that can be pretty good. Like we saw the Dust Animus that game, March of Otherworldly Light as well.
Yep, makes sense to me. So, all right, this is game number 3 between these two players. Kyle is going to be on the play. Huge advantage in this match from either side. You know, whoever's on the play. I mean, we did see London being on the play here. I would think then the matchup is basically 50-50, but if Kyle was on the play, I think this matchup ends up being, you know, closer to, it's not even crazy, maybe 55 to 60-40. But definitely like the Azorius control side a little bit more, but the play evens it out.
Yeah, being on the play is so important for both sides, like you said. Like one of the best draws from Boros Convoke is playing the Knight Errant on the second turn of the game, and that looks a lot different when you're on the play versus on the draw.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you get that spell countered, you know, it just looks you know, kind of devastating. That's for sure.
Yep.
So as players shuffle up here, gonna have Kyle on the play. What are you looking for from the Azorius control side? Are you just looking for no matter what mulligan to temporary lockdown and sunfalls, or are you fine keeping hands with like deduce stuff like that? What do you look for in an opening hand?
You can't keep a hand that's just too much like filtering and card draw.
Yeah.
Like you can't keep like the all deduce, all memory deluge hand, or you will just get run over. But you can keep hands that have early interaction and then also ways to draw into sweepers. Those types of hands you can keep. Like this hand has early interaction, like it has a counter spell, it has some Dust Animus and a Wandering Emperor. I think this is like a hand that you can keep even though it doesn't have that sweeper.
Yeah, 2 Dust Animus is maybe not the most ideal thing as well. They're not early plays. It's 2 mana, do nothing, and then on turn 5, you have an incredible magic card. But, you know, I feel like you can't even plot it right now, right? You just have to say go, leave up No More Lies.
I think you have to leave up No More Lies, or you can just play it because there are 2 of them. I think it's okay to just play it.
Wow.
And it looks like that's the play because that's going to stop so much damage. All these little 1/1s that the damage they deal, like over time, it adds up and it can be kind of annoying, but
yeah,
this just shuts down the board. Like, yeah.
That was the last play I expected, to be honest. I really didn't think we were going to see that played. But now we just passed the turn. Thalia on the other side, I believe that's the alt art Thalia. So now we have No More Lies to be able to pick this off. And in this matchup, whenever you have mana available, you're just countering something. So No More Lies to deal with that powerful enchantment.
Yeah,
and
although
you're right.
Although if that was a War Leader's call, I don't know how that was played under Thalia, but
oh yeah, good point. Ooh, that's a judge moment for sure. But at the meantime, we do have these matches pre-recorded a little bit, so no way to really stop that. But yeah, that was not a legal play.
That Thalia is very powerful, though. Like Kyle would love to, and it looks like there might be something here.
There we go.
They might be rewinding things a little bit.
Looks like we're seeing that cast right now, and that's the brutal part because how do you back that up? You know, because well, there's already been new information that was gained, so I'll be interested to see what the judge rules here. But my guess, BBD, is this is going to stand.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the correct ruling is here. That's where the judges come in. I mean, it's a tough situation. So you know, the players will play on it. Not a mistake that I believe was intentional in any way. It's just it's something that happens that sometimes you forget. Like there's so many things involved that it's really easy to forget stuff.
Let me tell you, Thalia would be incredible if it was only for your opponents.
Yes.
What a busted card.
Yeah, that would be the Thalia like attacker of Thraben, you know?
Yeah, power creep on that Thalia has gotten out of hand, huh?
Yeah. But the Thalia is doing a lot of work, even though it is a little bit awkward for London having that War Leader's call, and also I think of Urbrask's Forge as well. it shuts down Kyle's preferred play on this turn, which is the Memory Deluge.
Yeah, Memory Deluge, or maybe I saw Wandering Emperor as well. Neither of those plays are available. There's the Restless Anchorage as a blocker. But yeah, this will be interesting to see how it gets resolved. Because I believe we already went to Kyle's turn, played a land. That's kind of what the judges are double checking here. Is kind of how far have we went.
Yep.
And a reminder, everyone, these players have played a lot of Magic this weekend. So, you know, you think like this is definitely not this is not an intentional thing. Really, either of these players are doing. No one caught it. A judge caught it at some point. So no real fault to them. They played 9 rounds yesterday, 5 rounds today, and now we're playing a really, really heated game here in the top 8.
Now, one line of play that is available to Kyle once it depends on how this gets resolved, of course, but one line of play is using that Field of Ruin and then plotting Dust Animus.
Yeah.
And that looks like an appealing line because I don't think Kyle can play anything else really. So that looks like a possibly appealing line.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
we'll see. We'll see.
It's not great, that's for sure.
No, it's not amazing, but it does set you up all right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. And the thing is, these Boros Convoke decks play a ton of land. So not really like these Demolition Fields, Field of Ruin effects are ever going to, you know, quote unquote, get your opponent. You usually want to save them for Cavern, which is kind of the most important thing. So it looks like a card is going on to the top of the deck. And maybe we're doing a full rewind here.
Yeah, it looks like there might be a full rewind. So they're randomizing which card Kyle possibly drew. You know it wasn't the No More Lies because that was played before a card was drawn. So that's probably going to go back into hand. Kyle should be allowed to untap lands. The awkward thing here being that now London knows that there's a counterspell coming.
Yeah. That's really awkward.
And Kyle, like that play benefited Kyle so much of London playing something out and it getting countered. I mean, I think this is probably just as good.
Yeah, I mean, it's just probably the point of I think you still have to deal with this. And maybe not much has changed here. You know, there's some added information, and now there's a little bit of mind games. You know, London's like, I know about your No More Lies, so I'm going to play this card. But really, it's the case of it's the only thing London could legally cast right now. So there's almost no decision to cast it. And I think if Kyle had perfect information, he would snap off this No More Lies.
Yeah, I think it's still the right play. And it kind of ended up being roughly the same end result, except London knows that there's a Field of Ruin coming, which is probably coming anyway. And now Kyle knows that London has War Leader's Call in hand.
Now we're going to see Temporary Lockdown takes everything, including the Dusk Animus. A little bit of punishment for playing that early. You know, if it was plotted, sure, Kyle would have taken a little bit more damage. But Kyle also didn't have the Temporary Lockdown, so made the best decision at the time. And here's the Forge. Now that the Thalia is gone, which is actually kind of an advantage here for London, because London's hand, Forge, War Leader's Call, Gleeful Demolition ×2, and another Forge. If Thalia was in play, London had no play this turn.
Yeah, that Thalia was really a double-edged sword. What I'm hoping to see at some point in this game is that Temporary Lockdown coming out of play while Kyle has 5 untapped lands.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate value right there.
How do we get to such a thing, BBD?
I don't know, but
Sweet. So here is the main phase Memory Deluge, picking 2 cards, almost assuredly picking up that Plains. I think that's why we're doing this in the main phase. And that's why if I was London, I would be definitely thinking only one reason to main phase this, and that's because you need a land.
Yep. I like taking the Plains, and I like taking one of the counter spells as well. And
looks like 3 steps ahead is the other pick.
I think I would have liked taking the cheaper one just because it's a little bit easier. Like
I didn't see another counter spell. Was it No More Lies was the other option?
There was a No More Lies as well.
Okay.
Yes.
So now London has the ability to get a second Forge or a War Leader's Call here. Now all of a sudden that adds 2 damage. So you're making a 3/2 trampler that deals a damage when it comes into play. I mean, this is a real clock, and this scales quite nicely.
Yeah, this is a real clock, and there does need to be an answer at some point from Kyle to this Forge. Wandering Emperor is a nice temporary solution, but it's not really a permanent solution to the problem that the Forge presents.
Yeah, Kyle
Even
really
even a
wanted land 6 here, BBD, to be able to plot the Dusk Animus and have Wandering Emperor. It looks like we picked up, I want to say that was a March, which is solid at dealing with the Forge. I believe that can hit artifacts. No, it cannot. Oh, yeah, it can. Excuse me. So you're able to do that.
I think we're going to see plot. Kyle's probably going to hold up a counter spell in case London plays something big, and if not, we might see that March take care of that Forge.
Like
Maybe
getting rid of a card.
Yeah, throwing away a Wandering Emperor or something. You know, the Wandering Emperor is a very powerful card, but this current board state is not one that really benefits it that much.
Yeah, not great. Definitely don't want to 2-for-1 yourself at this point. Kyle has definitely had a little bit of brutal draws here, not naturally finding a land on that Memory Deluge turn. That was kind of the stumble that these Boros Convoke decks are just so good at punishing.
I do think this is a pretty nice spot for Kyle, though. If you get to go like counter this Forge, and then play next turn, you get to play a 4/5 lifelink creature and get rid of the other Forge. Like London doesn't have a lot else going on. I think that actually looks pretty decent.
Yeah, I mean two pieces of spells you can't cast in hand. The Gleeful Demolitions does not look great. You don't really want a Gleeful Demolition your own Forge. It's your best card.
Right.
Now, this came in as a 4-power creature plus the War Leader's Call dealt 1, so that's 5 damage. But yeah, BBD, I'm with you. Dusk Animus coming in as your first play and then having 2 great options is really nice.
Yep. Yeah, I like this now. You have this giant creature that can block. You actually don't have to blow up the Forge right away. You can use this opportunity to play Wandering Emperor, give your Dusk Animus +1/+1 in first strike.
Oh God.
Consume the token and gain a ton of life, and then use the March of Otherworldly Light on a later turn. That might be the play. Actually, I don't even know if there is a March in hand. There might just be some Wandering Emperors.
I want to say that alt art card, obviously a little difficult to see, but I can't really picture what else that would be if it's not a March there in the middle. Wow. Oh, look at this. Almost the most aggressive line you can pick. BBD, I liked your line a little bit better as what is the card that kind of blows you out? It's like Get Lost, but if London already had Get Lost, you'd be aiming it at that Dusk Animus immediately.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Get Lost, you could let the creature come into play first and make the attack because it does trample. But yeah, this is a good line. I like getting rid of the lockdown. Like, what's lockdown doing for you at this point on this board?
Yeah, getting rid of your gigantic creature. All right, yeah. I like this. This is aggressive from Kyle, but extremely powerful at now just getting a ton of pressure. And we might be a couple turns away from Kyle Moran advancing to the semifinals.
Yeah, this is an uphill battle for London for sure. Those Forges were doing so much work, but now that 2 of them have been dealt with, there's not a whole lot that can be drawn that swings this game at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, now a Forge would look laughably bad. You know, I mean, it's just coming in as a 2-power creature dealing 1 damage. Well, this Dusk Animus is just going to town. Needs a big draw step. That was actually really nice. That was the one of Frontliner. You're able to destroy this.
That's actually huge.
And unearth it and then destroy it again.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage with War Leader's Call.
So it's 7 damage, 8 damage with just the creatures coming into play.
And then now you have a board of 6 2/2s. I don't actually think it's quite enough still, but I
don't either, but it's really cool.
It's a great start.
Oh, a March off the top from the top rogues. That just negates 7 damage and just leaves London with now what's going to be 6/1/1 creatures, which is decent, up against the battlefield of Kyle, where, well, Kyle's going to go to 15, probably 16, because you're going to tick up that Wandering Emperor on the Dusk Animus. I think London really just needs a Get Lost or some way to deal with that Dusk Animus, and then has to draw gas off the top.
Right. Yeah. Step one is you have to get Dust Animus out of the board. Step two is that you have to have something to do afterwards. And then step three is that Memory Deluge is looming large.
Yeah,
one more land and that gets flashback. So
yeah,
it is a lot to scale. It's not impossible by any stretch.
Mm-hmm. So now the real question is, I believe there should be 6 goblins too.
Yeah, there
maybe
should be.
Waiting to get one more goblin token. The real question, BBD, is: are you attacking with the knights as well here?
Yeah, I'm happy to trade. If I trade one knight for 2 goblins, I'm very happy with that exchange, because that limits the way that London can come back into this game.
And where are you putting the counter? On one of your 2/2s, or just make it into a true Baneslayer there? I love it.
Yeah, I like putting it on the Dust Animus, because I actually kind of want to, like, if you put it on one of those attacking vigilance tokens, London's not going to block, because there's no good block. I actually kind of want the blocks to happen, so I would honestly almost prefer to trade one of those for 2 tokens.
There's also the Restless Anchorage that's available for another attacker, but that also means there's another blocker. So things looking very grim here for London Glenn.
Yeah, and London's doing the math. It's like, do I take all this damage? Because now, if I take all this damage, it's lethal next turn.
In the air, right?
In the air. But if I block, then I give myself an extra turn to draw an out, but the out is less impactful because I have less in play.
Case of the Gateway Express. That's probably the best draw. Oh, that is just 2 1/1s. What an incredible game here. This did not look good for Kyle at all, but Kyle Moran is advancing to the semifinals here at the U.S. Regional Championship. Huge congratulations to Kyle. Condolences to London as being the #1 seed, making it into the top 8, having the play with the aggressive deck, BBD. That does hurt, but still an incredible finish from London as well.
Yeah, incredible finish from London, and great job there by Kyle. And I actually really loved how Kyle played that matchup in particular, where, pitching cards to March of Otherworldly Light, not normally where you want to be, but Kyle recognizing that it's not about the card advantage, it's about how the board looks, and recognizing that it's better to take maybe a little bit more of an aggressive line there, but a little bit of a faster line as well. So I really liked how that was played.
Yeah, I really liked especially that turn where we were kind of talking the Wandering Emperor on the Dusk Animus to be able to eat that token, gain some extra life. While that's a cool play, and we, and everybody watching at home had the knowledge that would have worked. If the Get Lost was there and you were able to put that giant creature into play, then Get Lost, then attack, that's actually a way that you could lose that game. So Kyle played very defensive and just made sure and said to himself, I'm going to win the game if I untap with this Dusk Animus anyways. No reason to get greedy. And that is going to suit Kyle very well, as he's going to be into the semifinals. So we are going to let you know who else is in the semifinals outside of this break. But first, we have another giveaway here thanks to Heavy Play. So huge shout out to Heavy Play here. If you want to type Heavy Play in the chat, you will get a chance to win $5 in store credit at heavyplay.com. Get all of these incredibly cool products here. We have the ETB playmats. We have those RNG dice boxes, and they're sitting on top of each other like that because, well, they're magnetic. You can actually lift that bottom part and those dice will just stay connected. Really, everything's magnetic when it comes to Heavy Play products, and it just really has all your products kind of working with the rest of the products. So make sure to type that in chat, and we will pick a winner on the other side, as well as we have that 10% off code of Dallas 2024. If you just want to buy some stuff, even if you're not a winner in the chat, you can be a winner by getting some Heavy Play products. So, all right, everyone, don't go anywhere. On the other side, we're going to have the semifinals, which is definitely the most important match here at the U.S. Regional Championship.